So Westworld Season 4 has now come to an end, and the final scene suggests that we're going to be getting one final game in the next season. I'm going to be discussing my general predictions and theories for what we could see in Westworld Season 5 based on everything we know so far. There will be spoilers from Westworld Season 4, so if you haven't caught up on the HBO show, then I would recommend watching it before checking out this video. But before I get into my theories, if you want to see more videos on Westworld, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like rating, subscribing to the channel, and turning on your notifications. Also, feel free to check me out on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and Instagram at Cortex Videos, which is all linked in the description below. But without further ado, let's dive into my predictions for Westworld Season 5. So after Westworld Season 4 Episode 8, the show can go in many directions when it comes to a final season. Many have asked whether we will get a Season 5, and from what all the cast and Lisa Joy have said in interviews, it seems that they want to make one more. Also, if you combine the streaming numbers on HBO Max with the declining number of people who watched Season 4 on TV, then this season still got around 1 million plus viewers per episode, which I guess climbs a small bit from Season 3. So while it hasn't reached the interest of Season 1 and 2, the viewing numbers have gone up slightly, and I'm sure that HBO Max will look at greenlighting one more season. Especially since for a majority of this season, people did enjoy it a lot more. Now, I have my problems with the finale, and I know a lot of people do too, but the season as a whole was better than Season 3, and hopefully that's a good sign going into a final season. After the way Season 4 ended, I do hope that we get a final season and that it's a really good end to this show. And coming to what we might expect if we do get a Season 5, the finale leaves us with a lot of questions. What is the test that Dolores is going to run in the Sublime version of Westworld? What does this mean for humanity, and are they completely gone when it comes to the real world? Also, what happened to that Season 2 Fidelity test on the Man in Black? What characters will come back following their deaths, and ultimately, will humans and hosts ever get along following all of this? Well, if we do get a final season, it's time to theorize and predict what might happen when it comes to all of these questions. Starting with the Sublime test in Westworld, obviously the end of Season 4 showed us that the new version of Dolores, or what we presume is an evolved version of one of those copies from Season 3, has set up a test in Westworld where she can determine whether hosts and humans can really get along. Humanity has reached its last days on Earth, and Dolores doesn't want a repeat of things that have happened in the past, and more specifically, she doesn't want them to fall into their same old loops of violence and chaos. If hosts and humans are going to be able to live together in some way, they need to be able to do so in harmony and learn from the mistakes of the past generations. But the question is, with humans almost wiped out, how could Dolores go about doing this? Well, the first thing to keep in mind is that the human and host data in this Sublime is supposedly pretty big. We've got all the hosts that went there in Season 2 when we were still in Westworld, and then Dolores presumably has all of the data she's carried from the real world and the guest data from the park too. So she can use all of this to run one final test. And one thing that also has to be noted is that while all of this does take place in the Sublime, they will have to find a way to both leave the Sublime and enter the real world, and I would think that something would need to be supplying the power to the Sublime. Some type of maintenance that has to be done by someone or something to keep all of the turbines running, just like we saw with the Hoover Dam in Season 4, and then the facilities we saw powering it back in Season 2. With time working differently in the Sublime, they're going to have to consider that when it comes to having the longevity of making this test work. And with most of humanity now wiped out, my guess would be that the Sublime has been sent back to the original Westworld, especially with that being empty. I think there's also a chance that the Outliers camp that Clementine talks about in episode 8 is actually Westworld itself. Maybe the remaining Outliers or the Resistance on Earth are using that as their base because it would have been the one place that Hale wouldn't have expected when it comes to where they were hiding. And if Frankie is someone that would eventually come around and help those in the Sublime come back to build a better world, she might learn that her father might be able to be brought back successfully. When it comes to leaving the Sublime, Hale did specifically say that this is an option, but then someone or some sort of system would need to aid the printing process by putting pearls back into host bodies. And unless it is automatic, I think it could be Frankie or someone from the Resistance. The thing holding the idea down that it's Frankie is again that time works differently in the Sublime, so for all we know, Frankie might be dead by the time they do leave, but she could help with that process, and what's not to say that she doesn't get rebuilt herself and tested in the Sublime by Dolores or her father. These theories are probably a bit out there, but it would be weird if that final scene with her father in season 4 was the last time we saw her. But you're probably also asking, how might Dolores bring someone like Caleb back in the Sublime? Well, she could have that data from Military Training Park, which is where Caleb went and we saw flashbacks of in season 3. Dolores did meet him there, so she might have the memories and data of that to bring him back too. And I think that this eventually all leads to the Fidelity testing, this time making it work successfully after testing the humans in the Sublime. And when it comes to William, I think it connects to what we saw with him in the season 2 post-credit scene a while back. That test involved a host masquerading as Emily and telling William that there's not much left of his world and she was testing him for fidelity. And the location of this test very much reminds us of the Westworld facility that held the Sublime back in season 2. That's another reason why I think Hale sent the Sublime back to Westworld, and I think this is where they will come back into the real world. The question surrounding the Man in Black is how will they make this fidelity test work, and what will come of his character after that happens? Well, I think that Dolores is going to realise that if she is going to try to eliminate or contain the violent and chaotic past of the human species, that the person to run that test on is the Man in Black. He has the most data, the most twisted version of probably any guest in the park, and she also knew him when he was young William, the human who eventually became the twisted version we know today. She could try to use her memories and the data of young William to test whether he can truly be saved and whether there's a way to not make him become the Man in Black we know he does. The problem with that though is that it goes against the free will that William had in making those decisions, and I wonder if this conversation is going to make all the Sublime testing difficult. Still, if the subject can become something else of their choosing, then that may be the key to preserving free will, yet also making a change that is better for the future of both species. So yes, I'm predicting that William is going to be that primary test subject, and I think we're going to start with young William like we did in season 1, and maybe see some of those events in a different light as part of his testing. If it does work, this might be the way of making the fidelity testing successful afterwards, and lead to others like Caleb being brought back too. This time with their minds accepting their new bodies and not rejecting them, like we saw with both James Delos in season 2 and Caleb in season 4. So I think that fidelity test is the last step for the humans after testing is done in the Sublime, and I think the key to making that work is making it successful with William. And that ultimately brings us to the question of, will humans and hosts get along, and which ones will make it? Now, this might just be the fan in me talking, but I would love to see a lot of those original characters back in this Sublime test, as it does pose the opportunity for that to happen. Fans have wanted to see characters like Ford, Felix, Sylvester, and more back in this series one last time, and with all the data from the park and the memories of Dolores being in in the Sublime, next season would be a way to make that happen. To bring all of these great characters back in the aim to see if they can be brought back for real and actually get along. The world has an opportunity to be rebuilt with a new species and not replicate the mistakes of the past. It makes for a good reason to come back into the real world, and with Dolores using the Sublime to test a final big game that involves violence, I think they would want to come out of it if they did pass the test. But in questioning where this all goes, I think it's leading to a combined species of hosts and humans. Hosts that don't go on a path of violence like their creators, and like what we saw them turn to in season 4. And humans that pass fidelity and, in a similar way, overcome the urges for violence with the opposite kind. Dolores chooses to see the beauty in the world, and I think she believes that there's a chance to build a better world from that. I don't know how Dolores is going to be successful in making this work, especially after being told multiple times, even by Teddy, that the humans will never change and she can't save them. Maybe she finds out that this is true, or maybe she finds out that it can work in testing young William and having him eventually pass fidelity. I mean, if we're to picture where the end of his story lies, it would likely be overcoming his original turn in the park and not becoming the man he is now. There has to be the sense that Dolores can help the humans have both free will and seeing the beauty in the world when they come back through fidelity testing. That's what I think she might do, and we have to presume that host characters like Maeve, her daughter, Teddy, and some of the others will all be a part of this test that will likely determine if they can truly get along with humans. Ultimately, the outcome is that if the Dolores test is successful, then everyone can come back to the real world, and there will not be a difference between hosts and humans, as all are created by Dolores and her memories, and they are all equal. They are all a combined species in that sense, with humans living on in host bodies and fulfilling that human-host hybrid idea that the show has been leading to for quite some time. I hope it's as interesting as some of those earlier seasons and comes full circle in its complexity, really delving into the questions we had when this show begun. Can fidelity and free will be achieved by humans as these hybrids? Can they get along with hosts? And will the new world be a much better place than where we started? I think them returning to the complex ideas and narratives of those earlier seasons is much more compelling than a big blockbuster battle for the fate of the world, and while we'll surely get some action, hopefully it's the ideas and the writing that shines through. We'll have to see, and as I said, there's many different ways that they can take the story in Westworld Season 5. But they were my thoughts and predictions for Westworld Season 5. As I said in my episode 8 breakdown the other day, I enjoyed Season 4, but I just wish the finale was slightly better. It had a lot of sloppy writing and rushed moments at times, but I do think that most of the narrative events set up an interesting Season 5. It sounds like this may be the last season, and I really hope that they can go out with a bang with whatever route they take. But to those who've seen Westworld Season 4, what are your predictions and theories for Season 5, and what were your thoughts on the recent episodes? Let me know down below in the comment section. For more videos on Westworld, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.